We've had the jacket. Now it's time for the wait. Welcome back to Fog Entertainment. It is the Sopranos, and we're talking big. We are talking gigantic. We are talking Ginny Sack. But hopefully Johnny Sack doesn't hear us say that, because maybe he'll be ordering a hit on us. And yeah, it is season 4, episode 4 of the Sopranos. This one is called The Wait. It pretty much is self-explanatory here. Johnny Sack, he's greeting about the fact that his wife has been called fat because Ralph Severetto said earlier on this season that she had a 90-pound mole removed on her ass. Now, when he tried to explain this joke to a few people like Carmine didn't really get it at first, but Johnny had to basically explain it in layman's terms. That it insinuated she was that fat she could have the possibility of having a 90-pound mole removed from her ass. When Ralph said it, there was a lot of people present in the room, but the one guy who's told Johnny about the joke, he wasn't present because he's in jail. And I think the Sopranos probably could have done a better job of this, where we might not know who actually told him, relayed the message across to him, to New York. But speaking of New York, we begin this episode in Little Italy. We see Johnny Sack, he's talking with New York mobster Joey Peeps. I didn't actually clock on that this was Joey Peeps watching the episode, but Joey Peeps is a pretty big character moving forward, so yeah, proves how big he is. I didn't even recognise him here. But he spots at the corner of his eye some guy by the name of Donny Kaye. He's a member of Ralph Severetto's crew, and when he sees this guy laughing, he just thinks that he's laughing about that big joke about his big-ass wife. So Johnny follows him outside when he leaves and decides to batter him, beats him to a bloody pulp. This guy essentially gets nerve damaged in one side of his body, and he pissed on him. Tony is rightfully pissed off, no pun intended, about this, because at the end of the day, Ralph is one of his captains, and this is one of Ralph's crews. Johnny is kind of alluding to the fact to Tony that he kind of wants Ralph dead for this, and I think a joke about someone like this, it shouldn't result in the murder. Yeah, I get Johnny Sack's point of where, if it was back in the day, I wouldn't even have to ask. But the point, even back in the day, man, your wife is a fat bastard. Accept it. At the end of the episode, he accepts it when he finds her bag of Twixes, or box of Twixes, Skittles, everything, Mars bars, Pop-Tarts, whatever you American Yankee bastards eat over there, man. She's eating it. It's all in a box. And because he realises she's relapsed on her diet, he's like, you know what, actually, see anything I thought bad about Ralph, let's take it back. That's where we spend this episode. We've got Carmine Lobertazzi, who, at this point, have they done a good job of introducing this guy as the New York boss? Probably not. He appears the odd time and buries Tony to his face. Don never wears shorts, and then Tony just looks at him all depressed. But essentially he says we're not whacking Ralph Severetto because we've got good business with North Jersey, and the fact that if we whack Ralph, we're whacking the highest earner, and that is going to affect us, and it's going to cost us hundreds of millions of dollars. So, again, would Carmine have actually agreed to whack Ralph if there wasn't money at stake, if we're being brutally honest about it? I mean, he would have been more open to the idea, but we see with the meets that go on, we see Ralph, he returns from Miami, he sits down with Tony, they then phone Johnny Sack. Tony gave him one condition: do not apologise. It looks like he was beginning to win Johnny Sack over, and he says, if an apology's what it takes, then I'm sorry. Then Ralph's like, what the fuck are you apologising for? Johnny said it, sorry. What are you apologising for? You said you didn't fucking say it. Tony is then fuming, he starts smashing the phone off the bar, he's like, I told you not to say sorry, and Ralph shouldn't say sorry. I mean, this ain't primary school, this ain't high school, this ain't college. You're talking to, like, the underboss of New York. If you're going with the story that you never said anything, then you should stick to that. You shouldn't then say, well, you know what, right, I didn't say it, but if saying sorry makes it better, no, because that just makes him think that you did say it. Why would you say sorry for something you didn't do? I feel like this is just a flaw to keep the story going, personally, but that's just my opinion. We see Silvio, Tony, and Chris discussing who the hell's the guy that's been feeding Johnny all this information. They kind of think it's Patsy, but then they're like, nah, it probably isn't Patsy. Silvio then leaves the room with his McDonald's, and then Chris is like, maybe it's Silvio, and Tony's like, maybe it is. So who is it? But yeah, we already know who it is. We know it's Paulie. He didn't appear this episode. Like I said earlier, would it not be better to have this surprise about who it was? Sopranos has a lot of things where it, like, there's a lot of loose ends, even at the end of the show, like where some things just don't end. There's no like conclusive ending to storylines, and could this have been one of them potentially? We see Carmela and Tony arguing a bit more over money. This gimmick's come out of nowhere. Is it because of the lack of funds, even though you look at what they're doing? I mean, does Tony look like he's lacking money these days? Probably not, but essentially what happens is, because Johnny Sack is refusing to sit down with Ralph, Carmine comes to the conclusion that Johnny needs to go, and Johnny is then met with a hard choice. He's got to lay low, brother, but he doesn't know about it, of course. Tony is made aware on the phone call. He's like, are you saying what I think you're saying? Carmine's like, yeah, he's got to go. Tony gets the blessing here from Carmine to kill John, which I think is quite incredible. It's one thing, it's like, it just shows you that it never went over John's mind that Carmine would actually go this far to shut him up, because he can't simply let this go, which is quite incredible. We do also get this episode, Dr. Melfi with her psychiatrist, man. Who honestly cares about any of that? This is filler fucking shite. So what if he was driving in the parking lot and Tony was in front of him? He was the one bothering Tony. It's not like Tony tried to run him over because he took his parking spot. Tony's minding his own business, right? In the parking lot trying to get over to his car. And this guy rams his Chevy right up the guy's arse. What's Tony supposed to do? He's a fucking mobster. Top man. Is he supposed to just take that line down? This big Dr. Elliot Copperberg with his daughter or son that's a transgender by the looks of it, man. Big butch. I don't even know what's going on there. I mean, I thought that 2 Twin Towers fell in New York. Looks like one of them's still fucking standing in the form of his daughter. But anyway, looks like Meadows joining the South Bronx Law Center. Who cares? Ralphie then heads back down to Miami, and it's at this point John puts a hit on him. At the same point, Junior has actually informed him that, you know what, actually, we're going to put a hit on the big man. We're going to put a hit on Johnny. Via this weird inbred Texas Chainsaw Massacre style family where I don't even know why they're hiring them, man. It's like this show is filled of just bad ideas. It's like Bobby Bacalea Sr., Burt Young last season. This guy, right, who was clearly done, right, couldn't even walk down a flight of stairs without coughing up blood, and Tony enlists him in this. Junior and Mikey Palmas, they want to kill Tony. They hire 2 black guys that couldn't shoot Tony at point blank range. It's like, when is anybody in this show honestly going to get a job or get hired and deliver on the occasion? Now, to be fair, I think in this instance, the Ralph hit was definitely going to be delivered, as we've seen. Later on, it gets called off when Johnny does find his wife munching away at a box of food. And, yeah, Ralphie is spared. Pretty cool scene where the elevator opens as the guy's on the phone with the contractor. And then Ralphie's like, what the fuck's your problem? Doesn't catch on that that guy was sent to kill him. Then we cut back to Johnny, and that hit is... It's not really called off. Like, this family just get paid, but there's not really a scene where Johnny, I guess he's leaving for Boston, and they were going to go up. I think that weird-ass family were in Boston. That's where they were going to kill John. To be honest, I'm not really too sure, but this Galena crew, man, absolutely done. Honestly, I just do not understand how they were going to pay this family to whack Johnny Sack, the underboss of New York, and they're going to pay this family, this band of inbreds, this family, man. Absolutely disgraceful decisions, damn it. It's absolutely disgraceful. And let's see what happens next. I'll tell you what happens next. Johnny basically apologised to Tony. He's like, you know what, it's done. But no more fat jokes. And that's pretty much where our episode ends. We did have some stuff with Carmella and Furio, but it's just like, alright, if Carmella wants to be with Furio, then go ahead. And Furio's got his wee dancing shoes on. It was like, he was talking about his Pakistani neighbour. It sounded like he stole his CD player for him as well. Tony then returns home. He buys like Carmella this dress, and he's probably realised here, you know what? Even though I sleep around, at least my wife ain't a fat fuck like Johnny Sacks, damn it. And then, yeah, apparently Carmella's imagining the Furio soundtrack in her head while she's having sex with Tony. So is Carmella going to be unfaithful to Tony just like he has been to her so many times with Big Furio, his big nose? We'll have to wait and see. They've actually got... Carmella and Furio have got two probably the biggest noses, apart from Chris, because Chris's nose is bigger than Tony's gut. It's that big. But anyway, guys, that is it for The Wait. I thought it was quite a good episode. I think for the second episode in a row, it was quite good. Because it actually openly involved two big characters who you thought, oh god, which one of these two are going to die? I think The Sopranos, for too long in the first couple of seasons, like there's no impact with any of the characters. Like the big characters, you never feel like any of them's in danger. At least that's me. But anyway, guys, leave your thoughts down below. Again, listen. I was going to get an 8. I'll get a 7 out of 10. Till next time. I think a 7.5's fair, but when you're doing solo on this channel, you know the rules. You have to do 8s or 7s. There's no halves because that's how we roll.